Nicholas, who is in Pennsylvania. Nicholas says he is an atheist in a Baptist family, and he wants to help discussing religion with family without emotions getting out of control on both sides. Don't we all, Nicholas? Don't we all? What's up, man?
Hey, can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Awesome. So, so as you actually just mentioned, atheist Baptist family, and it's tough to discuss, religious matters. They're not particularly like fundamental or anything, but it's sorry about that. That was an alarm. It's particularly tough just to not get heated about things. Although I think my parents are really good with it. But yeah, I'd like to discuss that.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried discussing it with them? Like, what was the outcome?
Well, I actually have tried multiple times. So, quick story. My deconversion kind of started back in last May. And so I was very open with my parents straight up about like, hey, I have these questions and stuff. And they were helpful about getting me resources. But, I had considered all things. And pretty much by the time I went back to school in like August or whatever was when I was like, I don't think I believe this anymore. And I slowly came out with it, but it was tough, especially for my mom. Because it's emotional, having raised somebody like that and then having it, she said a couple of times that she felt like she failed me. And that hurts me, too. It's just...
Nicholas, you're speaking to my heart, dude. I had the same issues with my mom. She told me the same thing, where she felt like that she failed me kind of as a mother, because I ended up not having to believe her. And that hurts, doesn't it? It's the worst.
It does. It makes me feel like, I almost want to believe just for her sake. But I know, like, there's this guy I follow on Twitter that puts it really well, is that, once you kind of go that route of realizing it's not true, you can't go back even on a liberal kind of sense of looking at life. It's like, the Bible isn't completely true, but I still believe. And it's like, I can't get there is what I will tell people.
And that's hard for someone who grew up in the faith to kind of realize that, especially for people who don't have as much experience with like atheists in general and don't really know like how we got to where we are, because most of us, especially if you grew up religious, like it's a journey for most of us. Like it's a hard decision-making thing. Like this wasn't a thing where I just woke up one day and was like, I don't believe this anymore. I'm just gonna, live my life how I want, and if I go to hell, I go to hell. You know what I mean? Like it.
Exactly.
You can't. It's hard to share that with people.
Process.
Yeah. My first instinct would be, for your sake, because you sound kind of close to my age, I would say, and this sounds really bad, but, avoid the conversation if you can, if you feel unsafe about it. Like that's my first thing, is the concerns. Like if you're in a position where you feel like you are going to be, kicked out of your home, or your parents aren't going to support you financially or in some other way, then I would say, avoid the topic. And I know that's hard to hear because we want to talk about this. Like, this is really interesting to us. But your safety always comes first in these things.
Certainly. And thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. My second thing to you would be, if you do feel like you want to talk to people about this, I would do one-on-one conversations first. I wouldn't involve multiple people, because you don't want to feel ganged up on, and you don't want to make, you want to make somebody feel uncomfortable, like one person at a time, right? This is something that you go out to dinner with your mom with, and you talk with, and it's probably going to be more than one conversation, and just invite her to ask questions about where you're at. Make yourself as open as possible to her and say, like, look, do you want to know where I'm at, or do you want to, don't focus on the arguments on whether or not this is true so much, and like the particular evidences and the historical references or things like that. I would say start with the emotional healing first, because she sounds like she's hurt by this. She's hurt that you were hiding this from her in some way, even though you really had no choice but to hide it because you knew about the consequences. But I know that was the initial reaction I got from my mother. And just know that, your relationship with your parents is going to be a little bit different, and you can't take that back. It's already happened. You got to rip the Band-Aid off. I know, you think about experiences of people in the LGBTQ community who are coming out to the.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I know it's hard for a parent to kind of accept that, but I wouldn't want my kid to feel like they're trapped in the closet. I would want my kid to want to express that to me and talk about that with me. And I think your parents probably feel the same way. They probably want to feel like they want to talk to you about it. Unless they're having doubts of their own, which might complicate things. But anyway, that's my first initial advice. I mean, I'm sure you have some advice on this as well.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe try to come at the conversation in a calm, rational way and be willing to give ground and be willing to take ground, kind of the street epistemology approach to it maybe. Try to keep the emotions low. That would be my best advice. Of course, I don't know where you are in your relationship with your parents or your family more generally, but that's how I would go at it. Try that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you a ton, because that really is helpful. And, where I'm at with them is that we're pretty good, but some things that you were both saying really helpful in the sense of, keeping kind of a cool head about it all and not letting the emotions getting too high there.
Yeah.
It's helpful. They're really accepting. Like, I do feel safe talking to them about this, but like you were just saying, having multiple people like in the conversation, like with both of my parents, that's just it's signing up for disaster right from the very start. Of like, well, yeah, group discussions are tough.
Oh yeah. And here's another thing too. This is a surprise to them. They don't know what this has been like for you for the past, I'm going to assume, few years or so. And so the narratives they might be conjuring up in their mind might be a bit more spiteful. They might think that they're hiding this because you are holding something against them, or there was something personally that you felt offended by them or something. And you and I know the truth. That you and I know that's not the case. I know that where you're at, you just really wanted to know the truth. And this is where you're at. And I think just reminding them and just focusing more on the personal experiences rather than just here's the evidence, I'm going to be super rational about this, take it or leave it, because, we like to posture sometimes like that in the atheist community, but when it comes to talking to our friends and family, you can't always start off that way. You got to start from just where your relationship is at and kind of build from there. And I promise you this, Nicholas, it gets better. It will get better. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. It's going to be the worst thing ever, but it's going to get better. I promise you that.
And listening to stuff like this, you guys, and then I watch a lot of Telltale's videos and all sorts of stuff like that. It really does help with that kind of sense of, I guess you might call it camaraderie, just being able to know that there's more people going through this. And you're right, it does get better. And I'm definitely aware of that. And that knowing that has made pretty much the entire difference. I don't know where I would be if I would thought I was going through it on my own.
Yeah, I have so many. I'm looking at some of my friends right here in the audience here in the studio now. I'm looking at Telltale here. I mean, like, there's so many great people in this community that you can talk to and just be so open about that just won't judge you and will understand where you're at. And I hope that you find more people. I'm assuming you're on Telltale's Discord and stuff. If you're not, definitely get plugged in there or in the ACA Discord as well. And be with some other people to talk about this because it's such an interesting thing when you find other people and you're like, oh, man, I felt this way too. And if you want, my email, again, it's truth@atheist-community.org. Send me an email, man. I want to know what's going on in your situation. And if you want more help from me, you're more than welcome to contact me on there.
All right. Thank you a ton. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Well, Nick, I hope this was helpful. And yeah, man, just let me know how it goes. And I'm sure some other people would want to know about it. Maybe if you want to call back sometime in the future and kind of talk about how some of those conversations would go, I think that'd be a great thing to talk about.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'll plug in. I actually subscribed to your channel just a little bit ago. So good stuff.
We got another one. All right. Cool. Thanks, Nick. We'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know. Like, usually when I talk to people who watch my stuff, I'm not on camera, and I got this stupid shit-eating grin on my face because people are, telling me they watch my channel and everything. It's just awesome. I don't usually get this much attention. I feel like a popular girl in high school for the first time.
You're the prettiest girl at the prom.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I I'm lucky because I get to be surrounded by people like yourself who are making great content and stuff on YouTube. I'm just hosting the show
You're doing
here.
You're making me smile again. Here
it's
it comes.
fun, man. No, I mean, like, it is rewarding a little bit to know that. I mean, the reason why part of the reason I started this was to give a safe place for conversations for people about this stuff, because I know that that's what I wanted when I was in that place in my life. And gosh, just to see how much progress I've made in my life even since then, and even the other content creators on YouTube and the people I've talked to in this community, it's really inspiring. And hey, like, there are still Christians and all kinds of other people that we talk to that are in this community too, and that's even more wild, because it's like, oh, here's a perspective on Christianity I never even knew growing up. Maybe this is true. We have to kind of investigate it and talk about it, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
It definitely is. I love talking to people about this stuff. It is a lot of fun. You're right. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. I do this every night or every Sunday, but this is actually a lot more in depth. We talk to people for longer and everything, so it's really nice.